This is a tutorial for my niece Vienna. She recently got a toy kitchen and wanted to make a tiny bowl for it. So this is for her and anyone else that maybe is just starting out who wants a small project to try. So we're going to start. You're going to need to grab your hook and your yarn, and we'll want to start with a slip stitch. But you'll want to do a chain of just 2. Once you've done that, you'll want to insert your hook into the first chain, just that little gap there. You'll want to do 8 single crochets in that first chain. If you find you're having trouble sticking the hook in the chain, you might have to undo your chain and do it again a little bit looser. Make sure all of your single crochets go into that same hole. I'm going to skip the video ahead to the next part, so pause until you have finished your 8 single crochets, and then play it again when you're ready to go to the next step. Once you finish those 8 single crochets, you're going to look for the first large V right there, and you're going to do what's called a slip stitch. So you'll insert your hook, pull up a loop, and just pull it through the loop that was on your hook as well. Now you'll have a neat little ring, and that will form the base of the bowl. We'll widen that out, and then we'll build the ridges. It's always a good practice just to shape it out and count your stitches just to make sure you have all the ones that you need. Once you're ready to move on, we'll be inserting 2 single crochets into each of the single crochets below. This is called an increase stitch. So make sure you're putting 2 in each of the top V's of the single crochets in the first row. It's always good practice to count your stitches. This helps to make sure your bowl is uniform and looks good. I'm going to skip ahead again, so once you've got your 16 stitches, just hit play and we'll go on to the last step. Okay, now you're done your 16 stitches. You've got a nice base for the bowl, and we have 1 row left. And what we're going to do is we're going to just put 1 single crochet in each of the stitches. The previous round we did 2, this one will just be 1. And as we put these 16 stitches in, we're going to be raising up the ridge of the bowl. And you can see as I'm going along that the ridge is starting to form and pull upwards. Since we're not using stitch markers, which is what people typically do, it would be good to count to make sure you know which row you're on. If you do extra stitches with the 16, it's not going to be that much of an issue. You'll just have taller walls on your bowl, or the bowl might be a little lopsided. And this is my 16th stitch. Once you've done your last single crochet, you can shape your bowl up a little bit with your fingers if you want, but you can see the ridge of the bowl is nice and it looks finished. So we want to tie off. If you pull your hook out a little bit, like this, and then cut right at the top, you'll probably want to pull it out a little bit longer than I did. Just cut it like this. Once you've done that, you'll just want to pull out that tail end of the yarn and pull the yarn that's attached to your piece just a little bit to tighten it off. Now, in order to get rid of these tail ends, what you'll do is you can insert your hook into the next stitch kind of backwards and pull the yarn through, and then stick your hook in the stitches in the base and up by where your yarn's coming out and pull it through again, just so that those yarn ends are close to each other. And then you can tie those two together. I'm using a square knot, so you tie it together with the right side in front. And then I'll come back and tie it with the right side behind the left side. But I just want to make sure the bowl looks nice and neat. If you pull the knot too tight, what's going to happen is your bowl is going to cave in on the side the yarn is coming from. And I pulled mine a little too tight, so you can kind of see that. The edge is kind of falling down, so you can just pull it back up. And that should also tighten the knot a little bit. Then with the tail ends, you can just take your scissors, snip those off, and you're done. If anything didn't make sense, just let me know. I'd be happy to help clarify things and help you work on your next project.